Namaste. One person in UK believes he is the President of the United States of America. Another person in India believes a team has come from some other planet to kill him. And a third person in Japan believes whatever the television anchors are discussing is actually about him. What connects these three stories is the fact that all the three are instances of delusional disorder. We will discuss today delusional disorders with psychoanalysis consultant Mr. Himanshu Vaidya. Namaste.
Namaste.
Can we start with what delusional disorders are all about?
Delusional disorders are disorders on the schizophrenic spectrum. They are essentially they are essentially problems of unshakable beliefs in unreal ideas. So when somebody has a very unshakable belief which is not open to reason, not malleable, and the person believes that to be true, he does not distinguish between fantasy and reality. And fantasy has gone out of control of reality and taken hold of his mind. The person starts believing in unshakable ways in very unreal ideas, and this disorder, which impairs the personal and the professional life of the person because of this unshakable beliefs in unreal ideas, is what we call as the delusional disorder.
So, what are the symptoms covered under the term delusional disorders?
Uh, the first and the most important is that the person must have a delusion, which is an unshakable belief in an unreal idea, which causes impairment to personal or professional life. And that has to go on for more than 1 month. If that is so, then that is the prime and the chief characteristic or the criteria for a delusional disorder. And what we are talking about is something which is not sanctioned by the culture. So if there is something which is odd and sanctioned by the culture, we don't consider that to be a delusion. And very importantly, it has to lead to impairment in occupational or personal lives. And there should be no medical condition or substance use condition or existing medical condition which can give rise to this kind of delusions. Once those are all ruled out, then we are left with a delusional disorder.
Okay. So, what is the psychoanalytic explanation of causation of delusional disorders?
Uh, Delusional disorders are classified according to the nature of delusions. And there are many types of delusions, but the most popular five are the delusion of erotomania, the delusion of grandeur, delusion of persecution, delusion of reference, and the delusion of thought extraction or thought control. And then you have bizarre delusions. Now, these are the uh, prime delusions which we deal with for in 75% of cases. And then there may be very unique specific delusions, which is a separate issue altogether. But if we take these prime delusions and we try to explain psychoanalytically each of them, we can explain them psychoanalytically in a way that, for example, let us start erotomania. The delusion of erotomania essentially is wish fulfillment of a narcissistic self, where the person has regressed partly to primary narcissism and the omnipotence of primary narcissism and being the all beautiful person of the primary narcissism, where there is no competition and everyone is attracted only to him. So that return to primary narcissism would be one of the explanations of erotomania, the delusion of erotomania. When we come to the delusion of persecution, we look forward to Sigmund Freud's explanation of repressed homosexuality leading to delusion of persecution. We also have Melanie Klein's explanation of uh, attack of the bad breast as explanation of delusion of persecution. We also have Devarlu's explanation of murderous and torturous rage towards the parents or caregivers projected out in the world as delusion of coming back to you as delusion of persecution. We also have Beyond's explanation of the unprocessed particles, right? Huge amount of envy and rage, which sort of destroy the linking of thoughts, which destroy even the ego. It destroy even the object of envy and throw off all those particles loaded with envy, anger, and destruction, and they coming back be seen as delusion of persecution. We all can also have a cohesion explanation of the disintegration of self, leading to the opening up of the primal split, leading again to the feeling of persecution, of the delusion of persecution. Similarly, when we look at the delusion of the bizarre delusions, they essentially are delusions which arise from, which are explained better by the Kleinian and the Beyondian way of the objects which are attacked by our rage, our sadism. The objects are blown to pieces. At times even the ego is blown to pieces. At times the linking procedure is blown to pieces and projected out, and then they come back. So this would be the explanation of the bizarre form of delusions. And you also have the delusion of reference, where it also is another form of return to primary narcissism, and also return to vulnerability of being attacked from all sides, and the reference being just the beginning of attack. And one may also see in some cases a movement from delusion of reference to delusion of persecution. So this is the way in which psychoanalysis helps us understand each of the delusions. And of course, for each delusion, there are multiple schools giving multiple explanations.
We have different schools within psychoanalysis giving different explanation for each set of delusional disorder category. But how does psychoanalysis proceed with healing of delusional disorders?
The healing will proceed in a way that, first let us look at what we are dealing with. We are dealing with something serious, and therefore we should not be so ambitious to say that we can heal this kind of disorders in less than 1 year. We should also not have that kind of omnipotence to say that we will definitely heal. It may end up into a situation where we may have the ability to heal only partially or heal very slowly. With this disclaimer, we would go on to describe how the psychoanalytic healing would be. One, it would be based upon psychoanalytic psychotherapy. Two, duration would be between 1 to 5 years based upon the frequency, the severity, and the intensity of the disorder. Three, what kind of psychoanalytic psychotherapy to be used would depend again on the nature of the delusion and what are the presenting symptoms. For example, if somebody comes with a delusion of persecution along with some sort of homosexual dynamic, it would be very easy to apply the Freudian method for healing. But if somebody comes with the same delusion of persecution of same intensity and frequency, but narrates to us fear of very inanimate, inane kind of objects everywhere, and the presentation is more primordial, more primitive, and more pre-Oedipal, more part object kind of presentation, we would naturally shift towards a Kleinian, Beyondian kind of a healing method. If somebody comes to us with some sort of narcissistic or borderline personality characteristics and who has gone into delusional disorder, say for the first time, we may also look at the cohesion method of healing or the Jungian method of healing. So, based upon what symptoms the person brings, what is the frequency and intensity, partly also based upon whether it is first time or is it a repetitive thing, and partly also on the age of the person, we would choose a psychoanalytic method appropriate for healing.
Okay. All right. So we have so many other variants also which we take into consideration. But when we bring in the holistic healing model, Is there a way holistic healing approach can help in this particular healing of delusional disorders?
Sure, it can. Uh, in the holistic healing area, relaxation exercises, meditation exercises, both active meditation and passive meditation, both individual meditation and group meditation, uh, peer group interactions, some sort of social work which increases reality testing, uh, which increases contact with people, which increases contact with the outside world, some help from homeopathy, some help from Reiki and pranic healing, some help from mindfulness area. All these areas are areas, even music and relaxation, all these areas are areas where holistic healing can add to the mainstream efforts of psychiatry and psychotherapy.
So, when it comes to an individual again, how is patient's education important in the context of this disorder?
It's very important because the healing essentially will begin by insight generation, which would be intellectual insight, where for the first time, the unshakable belief is shaken to a micro level, may not be fully shaken, but shaken to a micro level. Or at least we have started making a dent on that iron wall. We may not be able to change the shape as yet, but we have started at least trying to dent the iron wall. And here, if we can provide the person with what is wrong and what is the causation of what is wrong, it provides the person with many things. One first is reduction of anxiety, because he comes to know what it is he is suffering from. So
Right.
from that anxiety, that infinite anxiety of the unknown, he comes to the limited anxiety of the known. Second, he realizes he is a part of a much larger community where thousands of people across the world are suffering from what he is suffering from. And that belongingness, that coming back sort of to the humanity, where one does not think that one is an oddball out, but one is a part of humanity and very near to the normal as one can be. That is the second very good healing part for the person. Third, he knows clearly the do's and don'ts. Fourth, he is able to do self-work between two doctor visits or two therapy sessions. Fifth, he is able to seek out material, right, online, right? And he knows where to go, because as a part of psychoeducation, we would have told him which sources to access and which sources are credible, so that he does not fall into the trap of non-credible information. Sixth, he starts seeking out peer groups. And seventh, he starts doing some constructive social or psychological reparative exercises or efforts which help him towards the movement into well-being.
So the patient education is right from knowing the facts and debunking the myths related to the diseases itself. Also, like
Yes.
a lot of insight healing happening where the patient's functionality gradually increases in all the areas where it is required. But what should,
Also, he does not do something which would set off a lot of anxiety in his parents.
right, right.
So that kind of a self monitoring to some extent does come in. I would not say completely it comes in, but we proceed on the basis of something better than nothing, and we see that it does help in some measure, if not totally.
That's quite a positive note. What should be the family members of caregivers doing if they are helping someone with this particular disorder?
It is very important for them to know what this disorder is all about, because that will lead them to first not go completely overboard in anxiety, and in turn make the patient more anxious or feel the patient more guilty about what he has brought upon the family. Second, it allows them to have clear set of do's and don'ts, what will help the patient and what will not help the patient. This is not known by most caregivers and parents, and they often end up damaging the patient unknowingly by doing something which they think is in the interest of the patient.
Right.
Third is it saves them from, or at least it alerts them, if not saves them, to the prospect of secondary problems, so that they don't end up with secondary depression, secondary anxiety in the process of giving care to the person they are looking after. Fourth, they can evaluate very well the how well the treatment plan is going or not going. And fifth, they can see danger signals and take the person to the doctor or the healer if they see something seriously going wrong before it actually explodes. So I think this is very important. Like patient education, the parent education or caregiver education is extremely important, and equally important is the help that we have to provide them so that they themselves are in a good health and the caregivers of today don't become patients of tomorrow.
So the primary support system has to be, strong enough to bear all the gradual healing. So that's very
Very
important.
right.
Right.
Yeah.
Thank you, Mr. Himanshu Vaidya, for sharing your knowledge with us. We have covered today delusional disorders. In the subsequent videos, we will be covering other disorders from DSM-5 in the same way. Do watch our coming videos and write to us. Namaste.